When most people imagine the most terrifying waters in Earth's history, they probably picture the vast open oceans. Endless blue stretching in every direction, with some nightmare creature lurking in the abyss below. And sure, the Mesozoic oceans were absolutely horrifying. But here's the thing, the real nightmare wasn't out in the deep. It was in a very specific area right in the middle of North America. If you traveled to the middle of the United States today, Kansas, Nebraska, you'd be standing in a cornfield, maybe some grass plains. But if you had a time machine and went back 80 million years to that exact same place, you are not standing on land. You are floating. During this period, high sea levels and tectonic activity created a massive inland sea stretching from Gulf of Mexico all the way up to the Arctic Ocean. We are talking about a body of water that completely bisected North America. And this wasn't some narrow channel. Think less big lake and more if the Mediterranean Sea decided to move to Kansas. And this geography is precisely what made everything so much worse. It forced an absolutely large amount of apex predators to share the same dining room. Now, you might think that a shallow sea would be safer than the open ocean, less room for giant things to hide. Wrong. The Western Interior Seaway was mostly under 600 to 1000 feet deep. Compare that to the open ocean, which can plunge down for miles. And because it was shallow and warm, we are talking steady subtropical heat. It became a breeding ground for everything. Massive plankton blooms fed massive populations of fish, which fed massive predators. Lots of them. All concentrated into the same relatively confined space. But here's the real kicker. The bottom of this seaway was frequently anoxic, meaning it was oxygen depleted, essentially dead water. So if you were a prey animal trying to escape something with teeth, you couldn't dive deep to safety. The bottom was basically poisonous. This compressed all the action, predators and prey alike, into the upper water column. Imagine if the Mediterranean was stocked exclusively with great whites. And also the great whites had competition from things even bigger. And there is nowhere to go. That's roughly the vibe. So what exactly was swimming around in this concentrated nightmare? Well, let me introduce you to the Mosasaurs, specifically the Tylosaurs. These were the undisputed kings of the Western Interior Seaway. Picture school bus, except the school bus is a reptile. And it has a second row of teeth on the roof of its mouth. And those extra teeth weren't for chewing. They were ratchets. Once prey started going down the throat, those teeth ensured it could never back out. A one-way ticket, if you will. These guys were so dominant that they outcompeted the sharks. That's like walking in for a job interview and telling the boss you own the place now. And if you thought one type of apex predator was bad, the Tylosaurs had company. First up, the Ginsu shark, officially known as Cretoxyrhina. This was a massive shark comparable in size to a modern great white, and it apparently had zero fear. We know this because paleontologists have found mosasaur vertebrae with Cretoxyrhina teeth still embedded in them. So yes, the sharks were hunting the things that were hunting everything else. Then you had the plesiosaurs, the long-necked ones like elasmosaurs that everyone thinks of when they imagine sea monsters. Except in the Western Interior Seaway, they weren't the monsters, they were on the menu. Beyond just the predators, the environmental conditions of the seaway made everything more intense. The warm temperatures meant high metabolisms and constant hunger. The shallow depth meant nowhere to escape. And from time to time, volcanic eruptions will dump ash into the water or choke the air, poisoning sections of the sea and causing mass die-offs. We actually have physical proof of these disasters. We found distinct layers of volcanic ash, bentonite, trapped between layers of fossils. A massive eruption hits, the ecosystem gets chemically nuked, and the whole area suffers a hard reset. Everything dies, the ash settles, and the sea has to start over. It was less an ecosystem and more a perpetual gladiator arena with occasional natural disasters thrown in. So what happened to Hell's Aquarium? The Laramide orogeny, the mountain building event that created the Rocky Mountains, began pushing the land upward. As the mountains rose, the seafloor lifted with them. Combined with a global drop in sea levels, the western interior seaway didn't disappear dramatically. It just slowly drained away over millions of years, leaving its inhabitants stranded in shrinking pools until nothing remained. The Mosasaurs, the giant sharks, the nightmare fish, all gone, their bones scattered across Kansas cornfields, waiting for someone with a shovel. Here is the speculative bit. Could a sea like this form again? Technically, yes. If sea levels rose dramatically and tectonic conditions aligned, you could theoretically flood continental interiors again. The closest modern analogues we have are places like the Red Sea or the Gulf of California, where rich waters get trapped between landmasses and create hotspots of biodiversity. But a true Western Interior Seaway 2.0? That would require some serious geological and climatic shifts, and frankly, given what lived in the original, maybe that's for the best.